Today I'm going to talk about the 4 primary components that you need in order to build a mixing studio in your home. And I say mixing studio because there's a lot of other people out there making videos about how to build a home recording studio, and they spend a lot of their time talking about microphones and mic stands and cabling and MIDI controllers and all of these different things that you would need in order to record music in your home. But there aren't a lot of people talking about what you need to just mix music in your home, not create music in your home. And that's kind of the boat that I'm in. I spend a lot of my time actually just mixing music, and I wanted to know, what did I need in order to do that? So in this video, we're going to talk about the 4 components that you need in order to just mix music in your home studio. So the first thing we're going to talk about is a computer. Obviously, the computer is going to be the centerpiece of your home studio setup. Everything that you do is going to run through that computer. And whether you get a laptop or a desktop, it doesn't really matter because computers are so powerful these days that really whatever you get is going to be able to run a basic setup. Only when you start getting into using a ton of plugins or trying to mix a lot of tracks are you going to start running into problems with performance. But other than that, just a basic computer will do the trick. So I started out actually mixing on a laptop, and then 2 years ago, I finally moved to a Windows desktop because I had my own office space. I could kind of set up a more permanent space for my mixing needs. But before that, I had a laptop. I was on the road. I was recording bands remotely, and then I'd come back to my studio and be able to mix it there. So I really needed a laptop for that application. As far as minimum computer specs, I would recommend at least 8 gigabytes of RAM. You need a pretty big hard drive for this job because the audio files will take up a lot of space on that hard drive, and then a good processor. And that's kind of what you want to start with. You can upgrade from there. The second thing that we're going to talk about is a DAW, or a digital audio workstation. This is the software that is going to run on your computer that you're going to mix your tracks on. And there's a lot of different kinds of DAWs out there, and they all pretty much do the same thing. You can mix your tracks, you can edit them, you can use virtual instruments on them. They all do a lot of the same things, but they all kind of have different workflows and different price points and different things like that. So it's really going to come down to personal preference. I would recommend doing some research on that and figuring out kind of which workflow and look you like the best, and then just pick something and go with it. But if you're in like a professional studio environment, the industry standard is Pro Tools. So if you want to get something that you can kind of not have to switch ecosystems every time you leave your home studio and go into the professional studio at work or whatever, then you'd probably want to pick Pro Tools because that would just make sense with your ecosystem. But other than that, I actually use Reaper because a number of things. First, it's very affordable. It has a free trial that you can kind of use forever, I guess. But then you can pay for a license for it. I paid, I think, about $60 for it. Reaper has worked really well for me. I love the workflow. I love how affordable it is. I love how it works. And it can do pretty much everything, including video editing, which I actually use Reaper to edit these videos that I put on this channel. So that's pretty cool too. So once you have a computer and a DAW, then you need to find something to listen to your work on. So you're going to need either a set of headphones or a pair of studio monitors. Now, I recommend everybody at least start with a pair of headphones. If that's what you can do, start with that. And the best part about headphones is that you don't have to worry so much about your listening environment versus with big studio monitors, you've got to worry about the acoustics of your room. You got to have a more permanent setup. So studio monitors are a little bit bigger of a hassle. But I actually have mixed for years on a pair of Audio-Technica M50Xs, and I still use them to reference mixes all the time. But if you decide to you want to broaden your horizons and work towards studio monitors, they can be a great way to hear what your mix sounds like in a more real room environment. So a lot of times we listen to music on speakers in our car or different things, not in headphones or earbuds directly in our ear. So that different perspective will help you in your mixing process. It'll give you kind of a different angle on your mix. Obviously, the best of both worlds is to have both headphones and studio monitors. I actually have both. Like I said, I have the pair of M50Xs for headphones. And then I actually have a pair of KRK Rocket G4s with the 5-inch cone. I've got a small room, so the 5-inch works really well for me. But just a quick note, if you decide to go down the rabbit hole of studio monitors, like I said, you then have to worry about the environment that you're mixing in. And that's where you start getting into needing acoustic treatment. So the reason we start to deal with the environment is because everything in the environment is affecting the sound that comes out of the speakers and then that we hear. So we want to be able to make sure that what we're hearing is the most accurate version of what's actually on the track. So in order to have an accurate perspective of that, we need to make sure our listening environment is taken care of. So that's just a quick note about using studio monitors. You're going to need to look into some acoustic treatment for your space. And then the fourth and final piece, I actually put this item last on the list because if you're only using headphones, you don't actually need this piece. And this is a USB audio interface. This piece is like the middleman between your computer and all the other gear that you use. So if you do a little bit of recording as well, or you use studio monitors, you're going to need a USB audio interface. And what that does is you plug everything into this interface, and then that interface goes USB to your computer. So it's kind of the middleman between the two. But like I said, if you're just a simple setup and you've got a pair of headphones and your DAW and your computer, you're good to go to start out until you decide you kind of want to branch out. For my interface, I actually use the Focusrite Scarlett 2i2. It's the second interface I've ever had. It's great. It's very simple, works really well. So that's kind of what I use for me. So, all right, those are the 4 components that you're going to need to start mixing music in your home studio. Like I said, I didn't want to get into what you needed to create music. I just wanted to focus on what you would need in order to mix it in your studio. So hopefully that was helpful for you. I'll include in the description below a list of all those different components that I have in my studio. And that way you've got kind of a list of suggestions or a starting point. And you know somebody else out there in the world has used the exact same things and had good results with them as well. So hopefully that was helpful for you. If you're new to this channel and you're trying to kind of learn not just the gear setup, but also the basics of mixing, I actually have a gift for you on my website, themixingprocess.com. It's called the 7-Step Mix, and this guide will walk you through the 7 steps that I take in every single mix. It'll give you a systematic workflow and process in order to get good, consistent results in your mix. So if that sounds like it'd be helpful to you, you can download it completely for free to you on my website, themixingprocess.com. And as always, if you have any questions about your setup or my setup or any other questions about the mixing process, feel free to contact me in the comments below, or you can actually go to my website and contact me directly from there. Feel free to ask me any questions you have and get in touch with me. I'd love to hear from you. Until I hear from you, go be good at what you do. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.